Professor, how are you doing on this lovely, lovely day?
Well, you know what, Alex? As it turns out, today is our 200th episode that you and I,
Oh, my
Alex
word.
and Mark, the Alex and Mark show.
I'm
Today's
old.
the, yeah, yeah, 200. And, when I tell people that, when I show them the app on the phone and they say, wow, you've got 198 episodes, they go, wow, that's really a lot of work. I said, no, it's a lot of fun. And so I thought today what we might do, since it's a Thanksgiving week, why don't we do a Thanksgiving episode and let people
Fine.
know
That's
what we
fine.
got
So that way during Thanksgiving, when that inevitable tradition happens, where there's always that one person who wants to start conversation but is incapable of talking football, they just open up with, so what are we all thankful for? We'll give you a bunch of ideas. We'll tell you what we're thankful for, so you can just take off our list. And then one thing I'm thankful for is, write this down, guys, is people hitting the link below and making sure to become a monthly pay us monthly so that we can keep the lights on, and also doing one-time gifts through PayPal. We really appreciate that. That's one thing I'm super thankful for. A big, huge thankful thing that I have in my heart is for you, Professor, and all that you've helped me with. Not just as a person to bounce ideas off of, but someone who really has my best interest in heart and really has gone to the moon and back. Fought off heaven and earth, hell or high water, and all other things between for my sake. But I will never, ever, ever forget that.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. It has been a very interesting sojourn, the two of us together. When we first met, 3 years ago now? It's almost 3 years ago.
I was a mere child.
You were a mere child. Anyway. So we are certainly grateful for the fact that we've been able to establish a relationship, even long distance now, and still podcast. But I'm thankful for the fact that we do have listeners as well as you are, and I'm thankful that we can be thankful. Now I know that sounds meta. I know that's probably too meta linguistic.
Oh, you're a philosopher. What are you going to expect?
I know, but what I mean by that, I wanted to explain what I mean. There are a lot of people who don't even have the opportunity to be thankful. They really don't. They're so myopic. They're so closed in upon themselves, either through depression or drugs or sex or some obsession that they have, that their life is a constant torment. Their life is a constant struggle and a distraction from being able to say thank you for these things. And you notice this even when you go to the market and you see people standing in line. The person who's impatient, who cannot graciously offer assistance to somebody. There was a blind lady who stumbled into the market the other day, and nobody would help her. Nobody from the staff would even help her. And so a couple of us went over and we said, calm down, because she lost contact with the person who was helping her shop, right? Oh. And she couldn't find, she's blind. So she couldn't find this person, and we made announcements. And so each of us took turns standing with her until she was reunited with her person. And then she grabbed us by the shoulders and she said, I just want to thank you. I said, but no, we want to thank you for having the opportunity to do something for you. That's what we want to, thanks. Because otherwise we'd just be idiots standing in line waiting to do the checkout thing, looking at our phones, So I just thought I'd bring that up because
that's an interesting tangent from what you're thankful for.
No, but I want you to tell our fans what you do in your family, because you have a wonderful family. What does your family do? You won't be there for Thanksgiving.
No, unfortunately not. I'm with a different family.
Why don't you give us your rendition of what the Alex Madagian household does around Thanksgiving dinner? Besides eat their way through the whole table.
Oh, come on. I mean, well, we're not really a football family. So we usually talk about it, do things like talk about our feelings. No. The whole concept of Thanksgiving really does revolve around the food. So, what am I going to explain Christmas without the tree, Jesus, or presents? How am I going to do that?
Right.
And the reason why is because food has a significant role in my family, because if you look back on our heritage, the absence of food during the persecution of our ancestors in the Armenian genocide was enormous. I mean, the saying, the starving Armenian is kind of, it's used the same way we use, starving children in Africa. It's just a colloquial, phrase to remind people, don't forget food. So and you can go to all the different Armenian communities. Somebody who is stiff on, who eats a light lunch, it's just not a thing in Armenian communities. It's just not a thing. There's feasts, and then there's bigger feasts. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And so obviously, Thanksgiving is one of those bigger feasts because, and although if you were to sit in on our conversation, you would think that that I don't know, one of us hates the other or something, but we really do love each other. And it's pretty much mostly zingers from everyone. My dad will say something, then I'll shoot right back at him. Then my brother will join forces with me, and then my mother will do scorched earth on somebody, and then Jonathan and I will counterattack with something else. And it's a great verbal joust, and it's really not a Thanksgiving unless I have at least one turkey leg. That's that's like, it's inconceivable to me to have Thanksgiving without me holding a turkey leg. Inconceivable.
No, I think that when you're going to be here for Christmas, so I think you'll get 2 turkey legs.
You better believe I'll get 2 turkey legs.
Maybe. Yeah, right.
but getting back to my point on thankfulness, there's a lot of people here at my school constantly whine about the food here and how it's terrible, it's awful, it's terrible, it's awful. I can't stand that because I'm so grateful that I get to eat here. Even if the food is subpar, the fact that I get to eat, to me, that in and of itself, I don't care about quality. The fact that I get to eat makes me better off than most of the world. My food is guaranteed.
Let me ask you though, do you observe the practice of going around the dinner table on Thanksgiving and having each person give a little rendition of what they're thankful for? Do you do that?
Religiously. Religiously. Yes. I mean, usually it's the time where we figure out the best snipe we can make at the other person, and sometimes we say something authentic. Sometimes. Yes. Oh, do you do that for Thanksgiving?
Well, I just like to by contrast, when I was still at home, I left home when I was 16. I think people know that. I left home when I was 16. But up until the time I was 16, Thanksgiving was a big celebration. It took hours to prepare. I mean, my mother would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start baking and cooking and roasting and stuffing the turkey. And it all had a crescendo. And by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when people were nibbling at this and cracking walnuts open and eating the walnuts and, drinking wine or whatever they were doing. So it all had a crescendo when we would sit around the table, and it only lasted about 3 minutes. So we spent all day preparing for a 3-minute conversation. And that 3-minute conversation was, what are you thankful for? And each of us would say what we were thankful for. And it was usually something materialistic. And as much as we would try to think of something transcendental, we often didn't do that. Closest we came was, the fact that we love our family, even though that wasn't true in many cases. Right? The other thing was that, did you realize that there are high incidences of murders and beatings during Thanksgiving dinner? And that's because people from outside the immediate family go to Thanksgiving dinner and they drink too much and they resurrect past grievances and grudges.
Oh, I believe it.
And Thanksgiving is a time when these grudges come out and the fangs come out and they're like,
See,
yeah.
Okay. Given that information, I'll amend what my previous answer by saying, I'll be very quick because we're running out of time. The answer you're expecting to hear is we talk about the love of God and all that. None of us really talk about that because all of us already know it. Right. And it's implied. It's kind of like, say, when you ask somebody, what's your favorite book? And they say, the Bible. Like, oh, okay, that was a cheap, cheap move there. It's implied. It's already there. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say we talk about material things. We might talk about an event or some sort of important thing like of that nature. But we don't come to blows. I mean, obviously, we all politically agree, so we don't have to worry about politics. Yeah. We all religiously agree, so most of the time we don't come to blows. But we all have the sort of common understand. We throughout the whole year, we let all our understanding and feelings and thoughts come out. It's not, when we're together, when it
So
all comes out.
you don't save up grievances, you deal with them right away.
Pretty much,
You
right
have a
there.
grievance. Yeah. And I think that's a good message to leave us on here. That we are thankful that we can be thankful because many
Yes.
can't. And instead of getting into an argument over the turkey leg,
There is no argument in my household. Everyone knows who gets
try
it.
to make a Thanksgiving resolution that you'll solve your grievances. The old expression, "Don't go to bed, don't let the sun set on a grievance," is
That's
really
from the
good
Bible.
advice.
That's from the Bible.
Right. Anyway,
Happy Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving to
Happy
everybody.
200th episode.
And thank you, Ellen. I'm thankful for you.